Nigeria joined the world to commemorate the World Press Freedom Day, which is a day dedicated to the importance of journalism and freedom of expression in the context of the current global environmental crisis. According to the annual World Press Freedom Index published by Reporters Without Borders, political attacks on press freedom, including the detention of journalists, suppression of independent media outlets, and widespread dissemination of misinformation, significantly intensified in the past year around the world. The index ranks 180 countries on the ability of journalists to work and report freely and independently. The RSF says that since October 2023, more than 100 Palestinian reporters have been killed by Israeli soldiers in Gaza, including at least 22 in the course of their work. And here in Nigeria, journalists and civil society groups want the federal government to review the Cybercrime Act and repeal laws that criminalize the journalism profession. Miriam Mohammed and Sarah Ayuku were at an event to commemorate the day in Abuja and Lagos.
Every year, the World Press Freedom Day is celebrated to honor journalists and highlight the difficulties they face in reporting the truth. This year's theme is A Press for the Planet, Journalism in Face of Environmental Crisis. In Nigeria, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, says that journalism in the face of environmental crisis is a call to action.
For the planet, journalism in the face of environmental crisis calls us to action as we are confronted by an environmental crisis of unprecedented magnitude, one that poses a threat not only to our planet, but to the very future of humanity.
For the Minister of State for Environment, Isiaq Adekunle Salako, he believes part of efforts to curb climate change will be to put measures in place to recycle waste.
About 2 weeks ago, we launched the National Circular Roadmap, which we will now engage the state to domesticate, and it will now serve as the framework for recycling of some of our previously considered waste.
This gathering is to stress the need to protect the rights of journalists and promote responsible journalism in the country.
We want to equip all citizens with the critical thinking skills needed to confront disinformation. A call also to protect.
Some journalists present asked questions on how free is the media in Nigeria, and the Minister of Information responded.
I know that you may refer to some incidents that have happened in the past, which we have also worked to address in a way that is also very responsible. What I can tell you is that there is no way you can take away responsibility in journalism.
The minister insists the federal government is committed to promoting freedom of press in Nigeria.
To lead the fight against climate change, journalists are encouraged to show commitment in protecting the planet by telling the truth at all times in their reports, as it will help combat environmental crisis in Nigeria. Maria Mohammed, TVC News, Abuja.
One of the most recent cases of brutality against journalists in Nigeria is the detention of the first news editor, Segun Olatunji. I was there groaning in pain, and it was that way for 3 days. When they released it, the right side of my body felt numb. As I'm talking to you, I can still feel the numbness in my right hand and leg. This was how Mr. Segun Olatunji partly described his ordeal in March, following his release after he spent 14 days in military detention. And it was a major discourse at the interactive session on the state of press freedom in Nigeria.
The army should surrender itself to the ombudsman set up by the Newspaper Proprietors Association, led by an able journalist. The army has refused to do that. Instead of doing that, their side of the story, which has not been verified, they release it to an obscure online agency. These things are happening, and they are likely to get worse if we do not stand up to it.
You have the NBC Commission Code. You have the Criminal Defamation and other laws that have been used to silence critical voices and stifle free expression.
The 2024 World Press Freedom Index by Reporters Without Borders has listed Nigeria among the most challenging countries for journalists in West Africa. In its latest ranking, Nigeria ranked 112th position out of 180 countries.
Government does not start and end every 4 years at the polls. People must engage. And some of those views are critical. Government needs to be more tolerant of views that are perhaps considered critical. They need not be politically motivated, and they need to understand the role of the media within the constitutional framework to amplify those views, even if it's not palatable to those in public office.
I don't think that we're in a good place. And I think it's further worsened by the economic, in fact, what I would call nightmarish economic factors, where one, salaries are low and they're not regular, and what little you even get, you can't afford to purchase anything.
These media professionals believe to strengthen the democratic processes in Nigeria, professional bodies and government need to prioritize the interests of journalists by formulating laws and policies that do not criminalize the profession.